This screencast covers Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, lines 1 through 1125. The story begins during the Christmas season. In fact, our story begins on the first day of the new year, while the new year was new, but yesternight come. Enter the Green Knight, a giant green man on a horse, who also happens to be green. Many scholars equate the Green Knight with the pagan Green Man, a symbol of rebirth or renaissance, representing the cycle of growth each spring. Since he enters Arthur's Hall on New Year's Day, this doesn't seem like much of a stretch, really. So is the Green Knight a monster such as Grendel? Um, if not, how is he different? I want to make some thoughtful comparisons between this story and Beowulf, so keep this comparison in mind as we go along. The Green Knight makes his challenge. For 'tis Yule and New Year, and many young bloods about. If any in this house such hardihood claims, be so bold in his blood, his brain so wild, as stoutly to strike one stroke for another, I shall give him as my gift this gizarm noble, this axe that is heavy enough to handle as he likes. In other words, I'm going to allow you to strike me with this axe, and in return, I get to strike you. But he gets no takers. Why not? I mean, is it shameful that the knights don't take him up on his challenge? If you think about it, if somebody came into the room and they had, I don't know, a sword, say, and they said, I'm going to let you run this sword right through my heart if right afterwards, like in a year or whatever, I get to come back and run it through yours. Well, you would think that the person must be nuts because certainly they're not going to be able to withstand that blow. And so, would it be noble in order to, to say, okay, yeah, I'll take you up on it because the guy must be crazy. On the other hand, the guy is green. So there are some mitigating circumstances going on here. So, of course, the only one that answers the challenge is Arthur himself, and that shames the rest of them. So finally, Gawain steps forward, and he says, I am the weakest, well I know, and of wit feeblest, and the loss of my life would be least of any. That I have you for uncle is my only praise. My body, but for your blood, is barren of worth. Note his relationship with Arthur. Once again, a parallel to the relationship between Beowulf and Hygelac. I mean, it's easy to see that Arthur has the same sort of comitatus community that we saw in Beowulf. And once again, we have that uncle-nephew relationship between the hero and the head of the community. The poet spends a great deal of time describing Gawain's clothing, armor, helmet, and shield. Note that Gawain is dressed in red as a counterpart to the Green Knight. Green and red, Christmas season. Is this a coincidence? Some scholars believe that this story is where we get the traditional colors of Christmas. In fact, some go so far as to say when the Green Knight's head is cut off at the beginning of the poem, that red squirting out of his green body is the origin of the red and green. I don't know. That doesn't seem too holiday-like to me. Anyway, back to the armor. Compare this description to those we found in Beowulf. Do we know anything about his armor and weaponry? I mean, Beowulf gave us very, very short descriptions. So, not really, unless he was using a named sword such as Hrunting. So, why would we have so much more description here? What does this tell us about the difference between Anglo-Saxon audiences and Anglo-Norman audiences? What seems to be important to them as far as their heroes are concerned? The poet spends 46 lines just on Gawain's shield, describing it inside and out and telling us the significance of the symbolism. This might seem excessive, but when you think about it, when a knight is completely encased in armor, the only way to recognize him is to know the symbols and colors that he bears on his armor and shield. Gawain's shield bears the image of a never-ending star. Like the Green Knight, this could also be a reference to paganism, although the poet takes great pains to explain all of the other things that it represents. If it is a pagan symbol, it is an interesting juxtaposition with the image on the inside of Gawain's shield, the Virgin Mary. Uh, Knights often had mementos on the inside of their shields from the women whom they were in a courtly love relationship with. Well, that was a poor sentence. But anyway, since Gawain has an image of the Virgin Mary inside his shield, we can imagine that he has foregone a physical courtly love relationship in favor of a more spiritual one. And in fact, in most of the Arthurian legends, Gawain is known for his spirituality. So, after questing to find the Green Knight and fighting many monsters along the way, Gawain finds himself at the castle of Bertilac and his lady wife. He is warmly received, and the men of the household look forward to learning from Gawain because he is known far and wide, not for his fighting skills, not for some of the other things that we would think of for knighthood, but for his impeccable manners. They say, now displays of deportment shall dazzle our eyes, and the polished pearls of impeccable speech. The high art of eloquence is ours to pursue, since the father of fine manners is found in our midst. So they're looking forward to him teaching them all of the wonderful manners of a knight. So Gawain meets two women at the castle. One is young and beautiful, that's Bertilac's wife, and the other is old and ugly. Compare the lady to Wealhtheow. How are they alike and how are they different? So the first half of this text ends with Bertilac and Gawain making a bargain. Um, the host Bertilac says, "And Gawain," said the good host, "agree now to this. Whatever I win in the woods, I will give you at eve, and all you have earned you must offer to me. Swear now, sweet friend, to swap as I say, whether hands in the end be empty or better." In other words, Bertilac will go out hunting while Gawain stays in the castle and relaxes with the women. At the end of the day, they will exchange what they have won. This is the second game of exchange that we encounter in this tale. First, the blows with the axe, and now this. Talk about a Christmas gift exchange. Oh, anyway, so now go on, read the second half of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and I hope you enjoy the text.